Nobody else's but mine. Well, it is all mine anyway, but it's all mine.
It's all yours.
All mine. Everything is all mine. So,
well, I borrowed some today. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah.
I messed this up, Shirley.
okay.
It's our timer to stay somewhat in alignment. Oh, it's going down though.
Oh,
We're going down. So we're gonna ground zero us today. What does that mean? We're gonna connect us, root us. The Earth Star chakra has been coming up a lot in the transmissions of light language that I've been sharing in the last couple of days. What's coming through me, and then what is being asked for me to connect to the collective. So we're going to be working on some Earth Star chakra and the copper ring just fell. So what can you share what the copper ring does?
Well, for those of you that are familiar with Slim Sperling's work, and other people have picked it up since he has passed on, but he used sacred cubits and sacred geometry and a lot of Egyptology, discovered the power of specific twisting of copper wires and twisting them a specific number of times. And so there are some of these discs that can be very powerful. I have one in my car that I put on my gas tank. Like before I fill my gas tank, I just leave it on there. And the intention is to increase the production of the gas that's flowing into the tank. So I put one also on my water to cleanse and purify it. And I put it under my flowers, and I notice that when I do that the flowers last longer. Sometimes my roses will last for 2-3 weeks. That's amazing for roses.
It's actually true. Whenever I see Shirley come to our house, I'm like, what the heck? How are those still alive? But interesting enough, with the copper providing purifying, and what was the other couple?
Yeah. Oh, the herkimer you were going to talk about?
Yeah, that's what I was going to, because I was asked to wear the herkimer today, and when I was putting it on, it was saying the Merkaba. So the Merkaba is the energy body that we travel in. It's the idea of our go-go. And what is that in human terms? Our car. So it's interesting that Shirley was just talking about putting that on the gas of her car and how that probably relates to her too, in her energy body. And part of what is happening as we connect to the bigger part of who we are, we can say that it's the higher self. We can coin it however we want. Some people call it the Holy Spirit. There's a lot of different names for it. It's like we are aligning ourselves to be able to move. And that's why there's a lot of magic about what happens in the divine earth, on the divine earth, and how we're able to maybe use a portal or in all sorts of things. So again, going back to what I wanted to share after Shirley had said something about the copper rings, is when I put the stone on, they asked me, or I asked myself, but I like to compartmentalize me. It makes it easier to hear the guidance that's coming through, where it's coming from. But I used the old chain. I was like, no, I don't want that chain. I'm wearing a sparkly chain. And it was asked that I wear the old because it reminded myself, as I looked at it, as iron. So it's like the strength, what holds the energy body. And then the shape of this, if you can see it, it's always reminded me of an iceberg and what gets used for the explanation of the id, ego, and superego. So what's hidden, and that's the subconscious. What's unknown, that's the unconscious. And what is known in the id is the conscious. So there's something about our connection today that really is wanting us to connect deeper into ourself in the talk that we have. Whether it becomes a deep talk or not, it can still be light, and we can still be working on that, grounding that Earth star in just our conversation. And I just went but I wanted to bring it back to Shirley and ask Shirley if you can share a little bit about the
Schumann resonance.
Yes.
Yeah, that's something that came to my attention this morning, is that the Schumann resonance is once again off the field. And the Schumann resonance is measuring the frequency, the vibrations on the planet. And so scientists have been studying this for years, and in the last 10, maybe, I lose track of time, so I can't tell, 10 years more plus, there's been a huge shift in the Schumann frequencies. And so when those frequencies are extremely elevated like they are today, and they probably will continue for a bit, you can expect that there'll be some adjustments in your own alignment, because you'll be feeling those frequencies because you're a human on the planet. And so as a result, for our Q session today, I felt it would be really good to put the nervous system into the Q instead of letting it run its own course. So I put the nervous system in, and what it came up with was overanalyzing. So then I decided, well, maybe I better run a second session for the people who are listening to this right now, and just let that pick up whatever it wants to. And what it picked up was the theme, or ghost points. I had to look that up because it contains all traditional Chinese medicine, and that's what ghost points are. And ghost points are primarily in the head. It's the stuff that we talk to ourselves, the mental monkeys, the things that we go round and round about, the beliefs that we may hold that no longer really hold any value or substance for us. And so we can gradually begin to dissolve those and let them go. So it's working on a lot of overanalyzation regarding, in particular, relationships. And those relationships can be of any kind, with friends, with family, with business partnerships, romantic relationships, but the relationship that you have with yourself, and how you talk to yourself, and what you think about yourself, and what you say to yourself is so important, because those words are heard by every cell in your body, and then everybody's I think of every cell as everybody, and everybody starts to conform to what you think and what you say, and then before you know it, you have created exactly what you're thinking. So if you don't like what you're thinking,
well, and think in terms of this. So what you think is your intentions, what you're trying to design, what you're mapping in the stars, or what we know as the matrix. And then what you feel about that is what you pull to you. So that's why it's very hard when you're beginning to really look at some of these beliefs that you wish to collapse, that no longer resonate with you, or you don't want them to resonate with you. Because the beginning part, and this is an actual therapy idea as well. It's called cognitive behavioral therapy, or DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. But if you look at, we create with our mind an idea, and that idea then goes out here, and it's all, if it's a lovely idea, well, then many other people can connect with that idea too. That's the collective consciousness often is connecting with, right? So if you're in the process of designing your life, you're resurrecting the thoughts that you wish to create with, or you're creating the thoughts that you wish to create with. When you put them out there, it's always good. But the goal is you want to connect with them. So how do we do that? We connect through the way we feel about the thought, about the situation, about the activity. So if I say, I am worthy, I want blah, blah, blah. I want to show up as worthy. I am worthy. I matter. And remember, the matter is important to remember. When we say that word, that's what it's connecting to too. It's grounding us. But if inside my heart, when I say that, I'm like, oh, or, well, guess what? It's not going to connect to that idea, or it's going to connect real loosely. It's just going to be a thread. And the goal is to make a super strong iron that is protected by copper, keeps purifying that thought. Because remember, as we're walking throughout the day, we have experiences that we may question our worth, or we may question our intention, or we may question whatever that is. So we're in constant design. The goal is to be able to take those thoughts that maybe kind of creep in there from the collective consciousness or from our own subconscious, and hear them, and then be able to talk to them so they could figure out like what we connect with and release the ones that we don't want to design with, that are ugly colors to us, so that when we put our intention out, we pull that back and we receive what we desire to receive. I want to, before we begin to talk maybe a little bit about how to work with thoughts that are very deep, because that's what the cue is calling us to do, but to lift it up to a space that we're not overthinking about it. We're just trying to make some practical sense with it. But before we talk about that, I wanted to throw out that we'll move for 20 minutes on whatever is coming up, and then Shirley and I have agreed to open up the last 5 to 10 minutes, depending upon how many questions are being asked, to answer any questions that you may have in regards to insight within the consciousness. So maybe you're questioning your higher self. We can connect into that field. Maybe you're wanting just guidance from a more expanded view. We can support you in that as well. And we'll see how that goes. So you'll just put them in. What I would ask you to do is begin asking your questions now, because I will take a peek at the question bar, and when the time comes, I'll just look through the questions that are being provided. And if you're someone that's listening to the replay of this, don't be afraid to put your question in there, because maybe you might get it answered the next time. So we are excited to do that.
Yeah, and no matter what the questions that are asked this time, if you're listening to it 4 months from now, those questions and answers have relevance for you, or you wouldn't be listening to it. And I want to go back to something that you talked about with the strength and the iron, and that's something that's opening up to us with Schumann resonance right now, the ability to have some more strength. And it's the ability also to connect with the heart and the sacral chakras. And I know you always talk about the sacral chakra being so important, and that most of us don't have a clear concept of the connection between the heart, or the even calling it the heart. And so I think that that's an important aspect of what's opening up to us and allowing us, through the Schumann resonance, through the energies that are pouring in right now and the portals that are opening, to allow us to gain some insight there and some strength and some iron will and determination for the manner in which we want to move forward, the way we would like to align ourselves, because this can be a very emotional time. It's also full moon tomorrow. So I've been feeling full moon for a few days. It's 3 days before, 3 days after is the full moon effect. If you're a person who resonates with the full moon and get drawn into that energy, and it can also open up a lot of creativity along with the Schumann frequencies that are going on right now. So we have the opportunity to determine what it is that we truly want to create in our lives, and we get the opportunity to form it, define it. A lot of times I think I have sat back and waited for things instead of actually deciding what it was that I wanted to bring to myself. And so I would just suggest that the more you think about what you would do if there were no obstacles, everything has been shed. There are no obstacles to anything. You can have whatever you want in whatever way you want it, as long as it doesn't hurt anyone else. What is it that you would want? And many people have difficulty defining that.
Because we don't know what we really want. We are filtered with a design on Earth and we may see it as commercialism, but it's part of the matrix, at least the karmic matrix, that is falling off, that a lot of it has already fallen off. But it feeds us information that we then think it's what we should look like, what we should do, what we should wear, what we should eat. And so when you become settled in a space that's outside, like maybe you stop watching TV, maybe you stop listening to this, stop reading this, you begin to move into a state of unknowing, like where you're reconnecting with yourself and you're figuring out what you do like and what you don't like. And there is no wrong or right to that. It's really probably the first year of ascension, or the first year of connecting into the fuller aspect of who you are, is really about figuring out who you are. What do you like? What do you want to do? What are your thoughts that are free from the collective, that are free from the triggering of the radio or the TV? When Shirley was talking about, I'm trying to, like, one of the things I want to share before I share about the sacral is, if you see me breathing like very heavy and then blowing it out, I'm just filtering through some very expanded frequencies or very fast frequencies and trying to bring them in through my body, so my body will respond and react in certain ways. All of us do that on some level. But just know I'm not going to faint or anything like that. That's just how I bring it in. So I noticed that
if you do, I'll just keep right on talking until the 20 minutes are up.
Shirley will finish.
And then we'll be back on Saturday and she'll be recovered. Don't worry about it.
It was 15:55 when Shirley was saying that, so there is no lie in that. Like, keep on going. So let's go back to the sacral and talk a little bit about that, because one of the things that was shown to me is we spend a lot of time talking about the heart, the lower heart and the higher heart. The lower heart is the human heart, often the shadow, and the higher heart is the expanded heart, where you achieve forgiveness, you achieve self-acceptance, you achieve knowing and a higher understanding. I use higher as higher, but it's not probably really higher. A bigger understanding of life. But there is a third heart. And the third heart, if we think about the most potent out of the 7 chakras that we have, that is of creation and is of emotion, because remember, emotion makes us real. It's human. Our emotions. That's why we in spirit want to come down here. Even experience the deepest, darkest emotions, is because emotion is something that we don't experience outside of these bodies. So when you think about, when you connect to this chakra, and then you ground, as you begin to ground in, and begin to understand that there are 12 chakras that we're actually working with now, you connect the DNA, the higher heart then gets connected in the sacral, because the sacral is your creation point. If we're moving into the idea that we're out of karma, we're in dharma, well, what do we do in dharma? We create. So the passion, the zest, the ability to spark that actually comes from the sacral chakra. Now, all the chakras are they're all equally important. But that, to me, as what is shared with me, is the resource of it all, to be able to connect in with that idea. And what's in there is usually ugliness, because that's the one space that sexuality is held in the most profound way. So that's when we're talking about maybe looking at some of these things that are in the subconscious, we are talking about looking at some of these things that are in the subconscious of your sacral.
Wise words. Yes. Yeah. And that whole creative part that's in the sacral chakra, that's what's available and open up to us right now with this human resonance frequency, as well as the full moon. So it's really important to stay hydrated, drink your water, and water. I'm not saying hydrated with lots of other beverages that are out there. Stay hydrated with
Kool-Aid?
water.
Does Kool-Aid come?
Yeah, Coca. Well, I'm not mentioning any brand names, but staying hydrated and staying grounded. What that does then is it allows you to connect and tune into your sacral chakra, so that you have the creativeness, you have the creative ability, and you'll see more and more of it coming up for you if you do that. And of course we have to combine all of that with breathing, because if you don't have breath, then you're kind of flatlined and nothing is in, you're not here if you aren't breathing. So,
well, remember, breath is consciousness. It's the gasoline for our mind. It's the gasoline for our mind. So whatever you're breathing is what your mind is feeling.
mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay.
do you have anything you want to talk about, Cheryl? Little Cheryl?
Well, there's something I'm going to talk about maybe on Saturday when I have more information about it. It was an ad that the Super Bowl had, and and it had to do with T-Mobile offering some kind of SpaceLink internet access for free until July. I don't know if that was just in the United States. Well, probably because it was offered by T-Mobile, but it may be available in other countries based upon other phone carriers. But this was offered in an ad, and I haven't had an opportunity to investigate it. But I know someone, her name is Michelle Fielding, and I only know her through internet, and she's a medium and she does a lot of psychic work. And she had talked over a year ago that she was receiving and purchasing a phone through SpaceLink, and that was a beta test that they were doing. Oh, I was looking for my phone, but you have it. So anyway, this phone that she was getting was extraordinarily expensive, like $4,000, I think. But she felt it was worth it in order to see what was coming for the future. And I think that the T-Mobile offer is a harbinger of what will be coming for the new phones that we're going to be. They'll be quantum connected. So everything will be on these phones. So you can just flip one of the icons and your credit card will be there. You won't have to carry it separately. That's just one of the yeah, it's just really interesting. So when I have more information about that, I'll share it.
Awesome. So it's 1, 2, 3 on the times, 12:30. So let's make this connection before we open it up to questions. Hello O'Clock, and hello Mir, and hello Angela for Scotland.
Slante. I don't know how you pronounce that. I should find out.
So here is what is happening. Here is what you may connect with. And I used it in the ethereal, the energy body, and in the human. I used 3 different separate decks to help connect us into this right now, to get into this subconscious and be working. And somebody's trying to call. So you know what? We're right on the call here. Let's connect this. Let's connect this to the bigger aspect of who we are, so we can bring in all the goods that we desire. So the first thing that came out in the quantum field is to support the idea of optimism. So whatever it is that you're working on, remain optimistic about it. Remain optimistic. Arms open. Allow yourself to be happy with the idea of it. And that was something that was very difficult for me to do early on. Is like, I don't want to just sit here and be happy about the idea, but you're creating, you're digging out the subconscious, which is the ground, and you're unearthing the rose that's hidden in there. So yeah, it is important to allow yourself to settle, be patient, be optimistic, but continue to move with desire on what you want. Because remember, we were talking earlier about matching the emotional body with the thought body. That takes time. The second cards that came out, and this is in the energy body, is that there is energy that's tied up in old beliefs, old practices, old connections. But the angel of balance is working with you and through you. So you can see that as your higher self, you can see that as the guardians, you can see that as the earth, you can see that with however you wish to view the support that you came in with or the support that you currently have. And through that angel of balance, your sixth chakra is being activated right now, the third eye. So I would encourage you, hi Charles, I would encourage you to maybe look up some information in regards to the third eye. Maybe look up an activation of frequency on YouTube and connect with that, lay with it, sit with it, hear it. Or do things that actually, this is simple. This is a simple way to connect with your third eye. You connect right here, you close your eyes, you relax your body, and you take some nice, deep breaths. And that's connecting. And you know what? Our soul connects here. Our soul connects here. And then the last card that came out was that there's some contractual stuff going on. So it's the idea of moving out of karma and beginning to move into the doorway of Dharma. That's happening for you now. But you may not know. Do you see that woman on that card? She's blindfolded. But the scales have spoken. The scales have spoken. And the last card that came out in the actual human experience is what is underneath it, like you can't quite get at it, why you feel stuck, and maybe it's more difficult for you to get into the doorway of Dharma, is because there is some agreements that must be dealt with. You can't just drop the ball and they have to be tied up. Untie it from over here so you can wrap up the agreements, the situations, the relationships, whatever it is that you're still in the mess with. And then the card on top is harmonize. So you can come into harmony. So you can make your way into what you wish to create. So that's the energy that's very active today. So if you got something that you're trying to wrap up, today's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful week to move into that and to trust that it is going exactly as it needs to.
And that's exactly what the quantum tool brought up with relationships. Whether they be whatever kind of contract you may have had. That's why certain people are in your life, because you have lessons to learn, because you have karma that is going to be dealt with. And those contracts, you need to honor them, because you are responsible for seeing to their completion. And once you feel that you have completed, then you're free. And then you're able to move on from that. I didn't get a chance to show people the Angel of Balance because I didn't have the card earlier. And they might want to just see that one. This is that Sandra Ann Taylor deck.
Oh, yeah.
That we used the other day as well. I like these cards. I have this deck as well.
I also use the Quantum Oracle by Sandra Ann Taylor as well. This is an older deck, but it's good to be able to connect with what's going on out there. What's in your field? What's in your algorithm? Right here. And then I use the Twin Flame Ascension. Now, you can use this with divine couples, but really this idea of the unity is within yourself. Like twin flame. There's a lot of stories for it in karma, but I think the biggest twin flame in karma is you. Balance of you. So I use that for the actual human experience.
And if you don't really have a union with yourself, if you don't have an understanding and a belief in yourself, what do you really have to offer anyone else to have a union with them? You need to be at peace here. You need to love yourself. You need to expand yourself. And once you are fully healed and you have dealt with everything that you need to deal with, then you have not only yourself and you as a gift to yourself, but you are able to offer it to someone else. And you have something to give to your children, to your spouse, to your friends, to your coworkers, your peers, to anyone. But you have to work on yourself first. You first, and it's not selfish to do that. You deserve it.
And the first question to that is, do you want to? Because remember, you don't need to do anything you don't want to. But if you want what we're talking about, then there is some requirements of that. But the first question, really get in deep. Do you want to? One of the things I used to tell my clients, and even myself as I was going through my disheveled times, is, do I want to? And I would say, you still want to do that? That's still exciting? Well, then go do it. Do it until you're tired of it. Do it until you're done with it. Run it. Some of us need to run it all the way to the edge and maybe even jump off before we're done with it. But allowing yourself to ask the question, do you want to? And maintain optimism during that time. And I noticed we are now 29 minutes and 52 seconds in. So I don't see any questions that were posed, which works out perfectly because that puts us at the 30-minute marker. So I want to thank everyone for coming, and
Namaste.
have a beautiful, beautiful day, beautiful week, beautiful evening, beautiful moment. Okay, bye.